Welcome to day 5 on the Avon. Today we're going to move from here along a bit, go through a bridge that's very narrow, go through a lock. We're not going to travel too far. We've got 2 places that we're thinking about mooring. One is right next to a town and a big park, and one is a little bit further on. So we're just going to see what the spaces are like. So enjoy a lovely day cruising along the Avon with us. First things first, we have to get the cats in. I guess we should wait until Alice has finished mowing the lawn. Fenders up, it's time to untie. I pushed the boat out and then I saw the family in the canoe. I waited until they had passed us safely and then I cruised into Barton Lock. We are getting used to the river now, so I took the opportunity to share the work a little bit by closing the lock gate. There are lots of bollards available to secure the boat. They are positioned around the lock so that boats can use their bow and aft lines when going up in the locks. Gate closed, I needed to pull the boat back towards the land so that I could get back on. Apparently, this is easier said than done. I think I will leave the rest of the work to Anna Marie. The lock mechanisms on the Avon River are different to the majority of canal locks that we have seen. They have a chain and weight pulley system, which you can see here. There is only a small drop for us in Barton Lock, so gates open, it's time for us to get moving on our journey along the River Avon. Once Anna Marie has opened both the lock gates, and hopped on board that is,
there's no one waiting at the lock. We're finding it a little bit easier if the person doing the lock jumps on the boat before it exits, because there's so many weirs that feed around these locks that it's just easier to come straight out of the lock and keep going. I saw another boater do that, so I stole the idea.
Not that we've had any difficulty with picking up crew.
No, crew pickup's been fine actually on the Avon. It's just practicing a new skill.
Mooring there at Barton Lock, sadly only 24 hours, but there is a really nice walk that takes you from the riverside up towards the golf course in one direction, which is where we were lucky enough last night to see some deer bounding across the field, which was absolutely awesome. And if you go the other way at the kind of intersection of the path, you end up in the village of Bidford. The only downside about the mooring is 2 rather persistent swans. They didn't tap the boat, but they did keep hissing at the cats.
to the 15th century medieval bridge that crosses over the River Avon at Bidford. You only go through one of the arches. Comment below if you also know what is so interesting about the arches on this bridge. I'll see if you guys can work it out.
It seems counterintuitive to pass under the leftmost arch when the river is so wide and you're travelling downstream on the right. However, it is best to follow the tiny signage, as the other arches in this bridge are filled with concrete and rock. That's not the fact that Anna Marie is looking for, so no cheating in the comments.
Through that 15th century medieval bridge feels a little bit tight, but we saw some really big GRP cruisers going through when we were out for our walks. Opposite as well is some private moorings and also a hire company that hires out day boats. We've seen the day boats go up and down the Avon. It kind of looks like a lot of fun if you're interested in that kind of thing. How did you feel the bridge went?
There was a little wind, but I thought it went fine.
Yeah. Were you nervous?
Only when the wind picked up.
Yeah.
Whilst there is no towpath to walk along between the locks on the river, there is a public walkway, which you can see here, called Shakespeare's Avon Way. This is a long distance walking path that stretches from the source of the river near Naysbury, all the way to the Severn at Tewkesbury. We haven't been able to explore this walking route as it isn't accessible from any of the mooring spots that we've selected, nor are we afforded the time due to the limits on the moorings.
Our next lock is coming up. It's Malcliffe Lock if you're playing along at home. It's very well signposted. We're loving this part of the Avon. It's very clear, it's very wide, it's very beautiful. There is a little bit of wind. It's headwind at the moment, but that of course depends on which way we're travelling.
Malcliffe Lock has a rather narrow entranceway when you're coming from upstream. We of course encountered another narrowboat coming out of the lock. Going down, we paired up for the first time on our journey with a tiny little cruiser, so we took extra precautions to secure the boat. We always let the cruisers exit the lock first. It is polite and much safer. We don't want to squash anybody. With the cruiser nowhere to be seen, we continue our journey. We have so much gorgeous scenery to look at, and we just love sharing the journey with you. What's this in the distance? Is it another boat? It's the first one we've seen in a while. I wonder if they watch the vlog. It's so nice when people wave and say hi, and it's not unusual to hear a "Love the vlogs, guys" from passing boats.
Boat behind me.
A second boat so soon? I wonder if they watch. Third time's a charm. Surely this guy watches.
About narrowboats and buses and single women. So how does it go?
There's nothing about single women.
It is. It's like,
no, narrowboats are like buses. You don't see one for ages, then three come along at once.
Yeah, and that's the same with like single women. You don't see any for ages, and then three of them come along at once. That's the joke.
I haven't heard the single women bit. That's just, I think.
That's just my wishful thinking.
I think that's a bit like, you know,
oh,
like
Kath's gone all prudish.
As we've been travelling along the river, Anna Marie's come up with a new little game. It's called What Else Could It Be? What do you think this is? We think it looks like a giant frog ready to jump. Let us know in the comments. Some of the corners on the Upper Avon are pretty tight. I'm glad we didn't meet the three boats on this section. What did I just say about meeting boats on corners? Hold on. Finally! The crew on this lovely blue boat were viewers of the vlog. Hello, lovely people. The approach to Harvington Lock is wild. There's the usual weir, but this time it just feels so close to the boat. Harvington Lock has two sets of overnight moorings, one at the top of the lock and one at the bottom. The visitor mooring at the top is full today, so it doesn't look promising for us. The hire boat here has decided to spend the night on the lock landing, while the cruiser we met earlier is on the other lock landing and the crew is nowhere to be seen. Fortunately, the gates are open so we can just cruise straight in. Doesn't Lazy Days look tiny in this giant lock? This was our goal for today, so we're a bit worried about a mooring, but luckily, as we exit the lock, there is one directly in front of us. Marked with little blue posts, this overnight mooring isn't designated as flood safe, but because of the distance that the boat would have to rise to meet the land, we feel pretty safe. It's actually quite a novelty to jump down onto the boat to moor up, instead of the other way round. You might have noticed that the bollards here are a little bit shorter than the ones that we are moored up to this morning, and the main reason for that is that the bollards on the other mooring that came up to here were flood safe, so they had a ring around them that you tie off onto, and that rises and sinks as the water level changes. Here, the little short dinky ones, there's no rain forecast and we're only going to stay here overnight, so we're not too worried, and also there is a bit of wriggle room because the boat is so low, so I think we'll be okay for today. The cats haven't had to jump up to get off the boat before. I hope they'll be okay. After a little stretch, it's time to explore. They're very adaptive to the different scenarios, aren't they? Alice doesn't look keen about this shorter bollard. She's all about the safety on the river. Lots of people ask us about the cats and whether they ever stray very far from the boat. And to be honest, they don't really. We do know that other boat cats do, so we're very lucky. Ours love to set up a perimeter around the boat and do a few patrols of the area. Then it's back inside to tell us what they think of our chosen spot.
Hello. What's up?
Thanks for joining us today on this cruise along the Avon River. We hope you're enjoying the journey so far. And if you don't want to miss the rest of the journey along the Avon, then make sure you're subscribed now.
Also, give us a comment below if you would have moored up at Bidford Park.
Or if you would have continued along to here, to Harvington Lock. Or even if you would have continued further along the river.
Let us know if you do more than 2.5 hours a day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Munchie. Munchie.